Do you like Dentside Ford trucks, especially ones with big blocks? Well, I got one today we're going to work on. What's wrong with it? Well, you're going to have to watch and find out. I can give you a hint. Exhaust manifold, gasket, blown out, tried to fix it. Did it work? Well, it's hours and hours later. What went wrong? I don't know. Let's get into it. Let's start pulling this manifold off, and I'll show you the gaskets and show you the process, and maybe this helps you on your truck too, because I thought it was an easy fix, and turns out it wasn't. So here we go. Dentside Ford big block exhaust manifold action commencing right now. So I had the engine out of this truck about 10, 12 years ago, and painted it, put some bearings in it, timing chain and stuff, and I'd put new manifold gaskets on it at the time. And for whatever reason, this one here by the third cylinder back has blown out. And luckily I put new bolts in it when I did when I had the engine out on the stand. So hopefully they'll come out fairly easily. Hopefully I put some anti-seize on them, maybe. I can't remember. But I know there are some brass nuts on the bottom of it there, so the bottom bolt should come apart. Let's get out the tools and start wrenching and see if we can pop off that manifold. To replace it, I bought some Victor Reinez, or however you pronounce it, Victor Reinez. I bought them Rock Auto. Here's the number if you're interested, MS 15175 by Molly. And they're just the simple, like metal, stamped metal with gasket on the backside. It's what I had there before that blew out. I have some red RTV. Maybe we'll put a little red RTV on them just to get a little extra sealing surface, but I've never done that before. So hopefully it just blew out, and hopefully I'll be able to repair it. I bought 2 sets for some reason. I think I must have wanted an extra one, or they're on clearance. I don't know. But we're ready to go. They're 3/8 bolts, so they're 9/16 heads. Let me stick you over here and I'll watch and see if I can get the bolts out. I had put all brand new grade 8 hardware in here when I did this, like I said, and full disclosure, I already started cranking on the front 2 bolts to see if they'd come loose, and they are. So let's take a look and see what we got. Oh, they're still there, grade 8. They're just a little toasty. I must have put anti-seize on. Oh, is that bent? Does it look like it's bent to me? Am I looking at... I guess it's not bent, it just looked that way. So obviously I must have put anti-seize on them. These bolts are probably different lengths because I think the manifold is different lengths. It's going to be hard to see because we got a lot of shadows here, but hopefully they come out. Hopefully the cylinder that's blown, it didn't like heat cycle the bolts a bunch of times and make them hard to remove. That would really be bad. But I've been driving it this way for like 3 years, which is not good for it because you suck exhaust or oxygen in there. You could burn a valve. You got fire coming out of the head that could potentially set leaks of fluids on fire. It's loud and nasty. Sounds like a garbage truck. So finally taking the time. This is the hard side. This truck was an air conditioning truck. Currently the compressor's off it, but it's a lot harder to get the bolts out of the manifold on this side with the AC nonsense in the way, but hopefully we can go through the wheel well and get it. Well, that one's a lot better. Here's the back of the exhaust manifold there. You see it kind of comes in like at a 45-degree angle. And I've got the studs there, the ones down by the starter, and then there's brass nuts on there. So I don't know how I can put the camera here so you can see what I'm going to do without being in the way. We got limited action. I think I gotta use the double wrench trick to bust this guy free. If I can set it up correctly, yes. Here we go, watch this. Oh yeah, got it. Double wrench, baby. Maybe I can get a ratcheting wrench on there now. The way that it is makes it so I can't get it with the ratcheting wrench. Now I gotta get it Probably by hand the whole way. Alright, well I'm going to struggle with this for the next 16 hours and we'll see once I get that off if I can get the rest of the manifold off. One here. Now in theory you could stick another gasket in if you could get the old one out, but it's going to be easier just to take the manifold off because the gaskets probably needs to be scraped and cleaned, and you can check the manifold for cracks while we're at it. Okay, left this front bolt in a couple turns. Take that guy out. All right. Now, can we... You know what? Might not have to take it out. I'll just be able to flop it down here. Oh yeah, this gasket is garbage. Look at that. Ooh, rusted and blown right apart to smithereens. It's the back part. That's where it was all blown apart there in that middle of there. It's kind of tight in the head pipe, so if I can get the... See if I get a good surface. We can just go ahead and slide a new gasket right up in there. I don't see any cracks in the manifold from where I'm at. Manifold looks good. Side of the block looks good. Now I don't see any evidence of old gasket stuck to anything, so we can get the new gasket and open it up and we'll throw a new one in there. Alright, it's the next day. I got the gasket laid in here. Let's go ahead. I decided not to RTV it. I'm just going to, because that could make it hard to get out if I got to change it again later. So I'm just going to try putting it in, like it's supposed to be. And I got 2 bolts here in it. I put new anti-seize on my bolts. I'm just going to try to flop this guy back up into place using 2 bolts to hold it to locate the gasket. And I can tell what we got going on here. Let's get one started up front. Can't see the rest. Okay. I just got to put all the bolts in, get them all started, get the manifold where it's got to be, and then tighten it down. Pretty much the reverse of how we took it apart. I wish I could open the door and get some airflow in here because it's stagnating and I'm sweating, but it's like 87 and 100% humidity outside, so I don't want to do that. But I got the manifold bolted back on, tighten all the bolts down, everything's good. Right now I'm going to suck these seeds off the top of the engine that the rodents like to leave up there for whatever reason. Seems like a good place for them, I guess. And then replace some fuel hoses, fire this thing back up. Hopefully it'll be quiet. Oh, I also figured out one of my bloodbath unit problems with the transmission. It's been puking everywhere. I do have like a pump seal. The front input shaft seal I think is bad. And when the converter drains down, it pukes out of that. But the whole rest of the panel is covered in oil. All the bolts are loose, like a quarter turn loose. I don't know how that happened. I haven't touched the pan on this thing in forever. They must have slowly backed off. So I tightened them up and wiped it off. So hopefully it'll stop hemorrhaging the red juice everywhere. So let me suck these nuts off real fast. Wait a minute, that's a poor choice of words. Let me use the vacuum to remove the debris from the top of the engine. That's better. Once upon a time, I had this engine looking really good. Had it out, put main bearings in it, timing chain, painted it all up nice, put the adapter on, put the Edelbrock carburetor on it. But it's kind of grungy now. Kind of grungy. But what we got here, I'm going to see if I got a fuel filter. Change that. But we'll definitely change all these 5/16 lines. Get some fresh rubber on there. So it's better safe than sorry. Well, I looked around. I don't have a fuel filter. So I can't really change that, but we can change these hoses. I can get a fuel filter later. Sad part is I was at Napa today for getting some fluid film, and I could have got a universal metal filter, and I didn't because I didn't even think about it. Oh boy. Oh, that rubber is on there. Ow, there's the hood. Shoot, there's gasoline in it. Gasoline everywhere. Actually, I bet we can pull this whole thing right off and work on it on the bench and not spill gas all over the engine. Oh! Or we can spray gas all over the engine. One of the two. Oh, there we go. Minimal gas spillage. I'm just going to replace all those hoses real fast. The filter looks good. Nothing came out of it when I dumped it out. So I'm going to change these hoses and slap this back on. But you can see why I'm doing this. You see all the... that's stuck right in. See all the cracks in the rubber though? They actually went right to the inside. So this thing could leak. Maybe if we go here... Yeah, it's starting to get cracks in the outside. Rubber fuel lines don't last forever, so if you're using them, you got to change them. Stay up on top. I got the fuel line reinstalled here. I'm just going to re-zip tie my fuel filter to this bracket that I made for it, so it doesn't shake around. Okay, I think we're good now. I feel better about that. Oops, hold on a minute. Almost forgot to hook up the electric choke lead, which would be bad. There, I think we're good to go now. I'm going to open the garage door. Let's fire this guy up and see if the exhaust is quiet and see how it runs here. Put my finger down here to feel for exhaust gases, and I got a leak where that gasket was blown out. This manifold must be, shoot, I should have put that RTV on there. Dang. Well, that's a fail. I should have put RTV on that stupid gasket. I didn't. That cylinder that blew out before, the gasket's so thin, there must be, the manifold must be warped a little bit or something. It's blowing air out of it. It's gonna burn that out. What I should do is let it cool down, unbolt it again, or at least loosen the bolts up and put some RTV. I think it's just out the top. I got some of that red high temperature RTV, and I probably should unbolt the whole thing. Coat the gasket with RTV, or actually I got two sets of gaskets. Maybe we could double the gasket up, like glue them together with RTV, then put a little that red RTV between the two gaskets, because the gasket's real thin and it's just not enough to seal for whatever reason. But I can feel it pushing air, and it'll just burn that gasket right back out and start ticking again. I don't believe it. What a fail. Other than that, it seems to run pretty good. The engine you saw puffing out of that black pipe out of the valve cover, it's got some blow-by. I think this engine's like 210,000 miles. The bearings were wore right out of it when I originally got it. Here I had to put all the mains and rods in it. They're right down to the copper. It had no oil pressure, so I put all new bearings in it a while ago, probably about 10,000 miles ago. But it's got some blow-by. She's tired. She's tired. She's a good old engine, but she's tired. These things are like paper thin, and if that manifold's warped a little bit or whatever, it won't take nothing to make it leak. I got the bolts tight. They're tight all the way, but it's that one cylinder, the third one back, it's just not touching on the top and blowing air. So it'll burn this right out just like it was and be blowing wide open again. Oh yeah, I can see it. I can see it not sealing already. What is... The manifold must be warped or something. Dang. Try to tighten the bolt a little bit. I'm sure the bolt is tight because it snug down just like all the other ones. Yeah, that's tight. Dang. That manifold, she warped. Or something's warped. Dang it. I can see daylight. Well, nuts. What I didn't want to see, that's a fail. So, time is it? 5 o'clock. I gotta let it cool down a little bit so I can touch it. I don't know if I dare put double gaskets in there. I mean, they're so thin, maybe it would seal. I got 2 sets. Here, I ordered 2 sets in Rock Auto, so I could maybe loosen the manifold up, back all the bolts out, slide a little RTV on the side of this, and so it seals, so the RTV goes between 2 gaskets, and slide this guy down in there. I mean, it would double the thickness. It's less than that is that gap on there. I'm going to put 2 gaskets in it. What's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to blow out and be like it was? Well, now it's really hot in here, and that's hot. I'll get you down in there. You can see, I don't know if you can see what I'm talking about. See there by that brand new bolt. I put a new bolt in there, but I can see right down between the manifold and the head. You can see there's about a gasket thickness between the head and the manifold that's not sealed. So that's a bummer. Okay, it's a couple hours later. I had to let the engine cool down, and I got the bed liner out. I'll show you that in a second. But I've reinstalled the manifold. I doubled up the gaskets, If you get down in here, it's kind of hard, but the one that was leaking back there, you see that orange or red RTV, high temp RTV. I took the gaskets and I sandwiched them together, and I painted the surface between the two gaskets with RTV, stuck them together, and then I put a loop around the engine side, especially on that one that leaked, and stuck the gasket back in there, cranked it down, and then I just put a little bit over the top of that gasket. I could see where it was leaking. I just doubled it up. It's a little ugly, obviously, but if I can get this thing to stop leaking, I think the double gasket is going to help a lot. It squished it all real tight where it wasn't warped, and that side I could see just a little bit more gap, but it definitely had the RTV in between filling up the gap, and this is the high temp stuff that's good to like 600 degrees right here, so it's good for exhaust manifolds and stuff like that. So hopefully, I mean, we only had like 10 thousandths or something gap there, just barely any gap. So it should, the double gasket and the RTV should fill that up. I've recranked all the bolts down. I'm going to let it sit overnight and set up before I try to fire the motor up so it doesn't blow it back out. Through the beauty of YouTube magic, you're going to have to just believe me that it's fixed, because if it's not, I don't know what to do with it. So, well, it's fixed. Bam! Done. All right. So this is all good under here. I'm working on my bed. I went and I got the bed liner put back in it. This is an actual Ford bed liner. It's probably for an old body style truck, but it fits this bed as well. I had to notch it to clear my tailgate supports that I welded in, because this box is super sloppy, like all my girlfriends. I'm sorry, I can't believe I said that. That would be, that's what he said. Don't be making jokes. They're not funny. But they kind of are. Anyways, bam. So, got that. So my box is all stiff again now. And, oh, that's not good for it. So I went through the bed liner back in. And what I want to do with this truck ultimately is use this for my main tow rig, since it is the big block. And I used to have my dump box in it, which I've taken out. So I want to, in a future video, build some kind of like headache rack to protect the back window. And I'm trying to think what I want to do. I've got some holes in the bed here that were used before, and I've got these big D-rings. These are Harbor Freight, but they're forged. They're way more than strong enough to hold what I want to do down. And I'm just looking at how I want to lay them out. If I can use my existing holes I got in the bed and bolt them through, they shouldn't want to flop around. Now, I might add a steel rail to the top of this. I'm just eyeballing right now, but I'll take you out here and show you my Dodge. When we did the Dodge, I did things like, see, I got them bolted on here to the roll bar, and then I'm going to put a set back here when I cover up the stake pockets, but I got some bolted in the box, in the front corner and the rear corners of the box, so they come in nice and handy. They're only like $6 a piece, and they are way more than good enough to bolt stuff down to the box. So you can never have too much containment or spots to tie things down. So I'm thinking I want to put a set on top of the rails. Like I said, there's going to be like a back rack. Like if you've seen like back racks, I'm going to make like a headache rack here, but it's going to be homemade. And I thought about making a rail go all the way down and having like a pipe rail just for like a little bit of detail, or just make something different. But I might just bolt these on and call it good enough. I'm not sure. So I'm thinking on that, but I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Like I said, I'm going to guess that manifold is fixed, and even if it's not, we're going to pretend that it is. Bam. So that's it. I got to get this truck out of here, because the C10 out there, you see it? It was supposed to be apart and at the sandblaster by now, and I'm several weeks behind, so I got to get this truck out and pull the C10 in and blow it apart and get the frame to the sandblaster. But before I do that, I've got to replace the front cab mounts while the cab's still on the frame. So that's probably going to be the next thing. I'm going to try to get this truck done tomorrow, get it out of here in the morning, pull the C10 in, start working on the cab mounts, and then blow that apart. So we'll be back to C10 content for a little bit, but it's ready to go. It ain't doing nothing sitting out there except getting bird crap on it. So it's got to come in and come apart so we can shorten the frame and get it back together and turn it into the short box step side that it is destined to become. So for now, that's it. You see it out there. It's ready for action. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you could do me a favor, go ahead and tell a friend. I'm trying to, some of the views have trailed off. Nobody liked my power tour coverage for some reason. So sorry about that. It was just, power tour was super awesome. And I would do a wrap-up video on it, but nobody wanted to watch the first 4 or 5 videos on it, so I probably won't waste my time making another one, because all it does is drag my algorithm down and then wrecks all my other videos after that. So anyways, if you want to watch the stuff I make, I'd appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bam, here, working on trucks at the Quick Speed Shop.